Can you see?
Ugly as ever. Go ahead.
It is not that bad.
Well,
Do you want to take off your glasses? I don't know that it really matters, but that looks good.
Okay.
So tell me about how you ended up at the orphanage.
Well, my mother was very ill, and my daddy had died. He was died when I was 8 years old, and it was like during the Depression, really, or ending of the Depression. And we lived with our grandmother in Hope Mills, North Carolina, the home my mother grew up in, and she got deathly ill, and the doctor said that she needed to have complete bed rest.
All right, so let's see.
How did I get there? What was the situation for me to go to the orphanage?
Yeah, tell me about, you were talking about your mother being so sick.
Anyway, they said, you've got to find, do something about the children. And so we went to Sunday school. My sisters and I went to Sunday school every single Sunday. Plus my uncle was superintendent of Sunday school. He and his son would ring the church bell on Sundays. In my little hometown, every Sunday morning at 10 o'clock, all the churches rang their bell. But anyway, I think Mother must have got in touch with our priest and my godmother. And I'm not sure, but I think that's how they got in touch with Thompson, which is an Episcopal home. And before we could even go, though, Mother passed out on the street, and they weren't expecting her to live. And I used to pray for her day and night, even when I swept the floor. I'd wake up and I'd be praying for my mother. And a telegram, back then we didn't have telephones like you do now, everybody with a phone, so they sent telegrams. And a telegram came, and I still have the telegram, and it said, you opened it up nervously, afraid it was from the hospital. And it says, you can bring the children Sarah to bring school transfers. And I remember I was just so relieved, and my sister-in-law comes over the night before and washes our hair and has all our clothes neat and clean and in a suitcase, and she and a friend that roomed with us rode with her to take us to the orphanage. I even wrote a little story about that. But I need to add to that story because, like in the last line, I put, that I knew that God knew she was doing what she knew was best for us. And I said, but, then I'm going to put in there, but, that is the adult me talking. The little girl in me then didn't like where I was and wanted to go home. And then I'll continue from there, that little story.
Were you scared?
Nope.
You weren't scared?
Nope. Just fit right in. All of us did. All the girls happy to see us. It was pouring down rain that day when we went. And before I went to the orphanage, wasn't anyone in my family, but our street, the road going in front of our street was close to our yard where people would walk up to the porch and talk to us. And the main highway was just like a lot in between us and the main highway out there. And they said, wait, and I used to always dream of what I wanted to be. And I even cut pictures out. And when somebody said to me, you wait till you get to that orphan home. You wear brown in the winter and blue in the summer, and they'll get those fancy ideas out of your head. Well, when they all started coming home from the movies, everybody had on beautiful clothes, they were laughing and talking. But what happens, the orphanage afforded me to be everything I wanted to be. But before I accepted it, though, my brother came home from the war. This World War II. It was over in '45 when I went. And I went in November, so I guess end of January, he comes home. And I make out like I love the place. And as soon as he got ready to leave, I said, Ben, come here. I said, don't tell Mother, but I hate this place. First thing he did is told Mother. So whenever Mother wrote me a letter, she said, Stella, honey, I guess you'll always be miserable like me. That moment, I had a revelation. I knew right then I had a choice of what I wanted to be. And I said, no, I won't. And I started looking at everything good that was happening to me. And I started getting along fine with everybody. I loved everybody. I really did. Maybe I'm weird, but I really did. I didn't just not like anybody. And didn't mean I always got along with everybody perfectly, but, I really cared about the people around me. I enjoyed them. I loved it. In fact, one girl said to me, she said, Stella, you talk, it only sound like we were at the same place. So it all depends on how you're looking at something. Life depends on how you look at it. And see, I think one of the saddest things about my time was we didn't have counselors. And like my little sister, and so many of the small children could never really adjust. Maybe they felt unloved, they felt abandoned, deserted, and this affected them all their life. And so, but see, like me, I was older, I was able to reason.
How old were you?
11. I was able to reason, and see, my little sister was put in another cottage. And, you know, she was like, in all these strange people, everything was different.
Was it just you and your sister that went? Or did you have
No, I
others?
have a sister my age. I mean, 11 months younger, and we went to the same cottage. And I think Annie loved it too.
So
Annie
it's
died.
3 of you.
Yeah, Annie died a few years ago, but I believe Annie Ruth loved it. But we got along fine, but Marie always had a problem. She just felt like Mother deserted her.
So you went there when your mother was sick.
I went there, they were expecting my mother to die. They did not think that she would live. They did exploratory surgery and found a tumor. And my brother told me, he said, I'm going to bring Mom to see you. He said, Stella, why don't you promise me you won't cry? I said, oh, I won't cry. And Mother only weighs 78 pounds, and I burst into tears. But by the time she died, when I was 25, she was healthy and, you know, looked good. She regained all her health back and everything.
Now, you were at the orphanage from the time you were 11 until...
I stayed almost 2 years longer to go to King's Business College after I graduated.
So you were like 18?
No, I was 21.
Oh, you were 21.
I was 20 when I left the orphanage. Excuse me, I was 20 when I left the orphanage. But they let me stay out there, you know, while I went to school.
What were some of your favorite things to do while you were living there?
I liked a lot of attention. I like to sometimes, you know, get little groups together and have a show in the dining room. I just like, I don't know, I like going out to the farm. I liked having a boyfriend all the time. You know, like they lived out there and I lived out there, and that was like comfort to each other. You know, like we would be out skating, and he'd come home from the farm, I'd take a shower and come outside, and we'd walk around, I'd be holding his hand, and we'd just talk, you know, and sit on the green grass.
Where would you go on dates when you...
Well, he and I dated him until end of 9th grade, and we'd go to the movies every Friday night. I don't know where I got the money, because some of the boys said they didn't have the money to take him out to the movies. But every Friday night we'd go to the movies, either Friday or Saturday night, and then we'd sit around on the campus and talk, and we just lived our life like if so you were in your own, like if you were in your own home. I don't think any of us thought of it any other way other than our own home. And see, I used to think, why do people feel sorry for us when we have everything? Why don't they feel sorry for that little child on the street that has nothing? Or maybe the parent is really struggling. Or maybe goes to school dirty. And I figured, well, if you lived in the orphanage, nope, I'm not offending anyone. Nobody has to take part in doing anything other than, send a donation or something like that. But if you get involved with a person individually, that's going to require something from you. So it's easier just to push that person out of your mind. Plus, they don't want the children to play with them a lot of times. And this causes a lot of kids to grow up, especially if they're little. I think, I can see if they're into drugs and all that when they get older, I can see that. But when they're little, and, not to show them a lot of kindness and all, I think that's cruel. And sometimes I wonder about people who are, call themselves Christians. I don't mean to be judging, but they're so quick to look at somebody and put them in a certain pocket, think they're up to something, and maybe they're not.
Did it feel like the community supported the orphanage?
We never felt any different. We went to St. Martin's, and first we had chapel every Sunday with Mr. Wheeler. He dedicated the rest of his life to being our priest after he, resigned from being the superintendent. And he would come every single Sunday, every holiday, always had chapel service. And then we'd go to St. Martin's or St. Peter's. You didn't go to St. Peter's till you got in high school. Then if you wanted to, you had a choice to go to either church.
Because it was farther away? Is that
Well,
why?
whatever. Well, the little kids, I get the older ones, they could just go and do what they wanted to. But like the little baby kids or the smaller children, there'd be two girls that would walk with them in line to Sunday school and bring them back. But as you got into high school, you didn't do that till you got in the junior high, after you went to the Keenan Cottage, which was the big girls' cottage, or the big boy Baker Cottage, big boys' cottage. Then you had a choice. But I liked St. Martin's more than I liked St. Peter's. I went to St. Peter's one year and went back to St. Martin's.
What did you like about it? At St.
I'd grown up there. I mean, I felt comfortable there. So, that's it.
Did you have chores?
Oh, yeah. We all had, and it was like, if you worked in the dining room, you did not have to have anything to, shore, I always say that, there at the cottage. Okay, like, I'm just speaking for all the cottages had their a schedule made for them each month by the Wisnants, by Mom Wisnant. But you might have two, before you went to school that morning, you may have, your assignment that month might be to keep those 2 bedrooms clean, swept, and everything. Somebody else might have the living room and the front porch and the hall, or someone may have the 2 bathrooms. It was all, each person had a certain little thing to do. And then you had to keep your own bed made and your clothes hung up. You were given responsibilities that helped you to grow. And then like when you were in the dining room, you were given, you started out like, this is really funny. I knew how to set a table and everything before I ever went to the orphanage because Mother taught me. And so this girl was going to teach me about setting the table. The little younger girls would start out setting the table. Okay, she was going around putting the napkins down. I walked behind her picking them up. And she turned around and looked, and all the table, all the napkins were in my hand. But that was always, funny. But you learn, but that was my first job out there in the dining room. Then there was the pantry. One girl would do the pantry. She got older, she did the pantry. One girl would wash the dishes. She had this, electric washer. And one girl would be the carer, take them from the pantry, blah, blah. Everybody just had a different job. But if you didn't work in the dining room, then you would have to work in the laundry. Well, you work in the laundry, on Monday and Tuesday, you'd have it all done in the afternoon, 2 afternoons. But each person had a specific thing to do, and it was done, it was easy.
Would people ever not do what they were supposed to do?
We never thought about not doing what we weren't supposed to do. I mean, it was just a thing you did, it's just...
Like anything else.
It was just your responsibility, and you didn't think about not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I think the boys had to work really hard. I mean, compared to the girls, because that Pop really worked them pretty hard. I have to say that, and they'll probably tell you that too. But
Yeah.
see, Pop also told me one time that, if you're busy, you don't have time to get in trouble. And he felt like it was teaching them responsibilities that would go with them and give them confidence that they could do anything. That's what he told me. Pop used to talk to me right much about little things like that.
What were Mom and Pop like? What are your memories of them?
Miss Wisnot was pretty stern but very smart. She taught us how to dress. She'd take us shopping. She'd try to teach us to make up our own mind what we wanted to buy. They had a lot of responsibilities, and in teaching us all like they did. Someone once said it was like a finishing school in a way, the things that we were taught out there. And I'm proud, very proud to say that I was out there.
Where would y'all go shopping?
Belk's.
Downtown?
Our clothes came from Belk Brothers.
What was it like in the rooms at night? Like, how many people
It was
would
just like in like 4 girls in the room. It was just like if you were at home almost with your sisters.
Would y'all talk? Were you allowed to talk?
We were not in prison. It was our home. It was not. See, that is the thing about the public. And by me writing that book, I'm hoping people will see what an orphanage is like. An orphanage is not supposed to be a torture chamber for kids to go like they're in prison. It is a home. And you adjust to your home, whatever your situation is. We went to public schools. We did everything other kids did. We had nice clothes. There was nothing, during the Wilderness time anyway, they always made sure, like at Easter season, we'd get a Palm Sunday dress and a Easter suit and all new underclothes and shoes and everything. Each school season, we get new clothes. You'd take your school shoes and start being your everyday shoes. Your Sunday shoes would be your school shoes, and you know, you take them off when you came home, and your clothes always looked nice.
Have you read that article by that Bishop Spong?
What did he say?
He was an Episcopal minister, and he reviewed the orphanage, and he says that they were too strict.
They weren't.
That the
You know, like now, I know what he said. Yeah, I think he's a jerk if he's listening. I do, and I don't care about you. You have my permission saying it. Those boys that grew up out there, they learned to do. And like Ray, one of the boys in my book, he says, I never liked it out there, but who can say I would have liked it anywhere under the circumstances? No, the Wilderness taught you how to do. You didn't sit around on your rear end and think of how miserable you were all the time. You had things to do. They provided places to go. They saw that we had nice clothes. The boys that grew up out there are such fine men today. Only know I don't know if any of them that's been to prison. I know one boy, which I will not mention his name. When he was 8 years old, he wanted to go home. They took him home. His other 2 siblings remained. He's in federal prison today. The 2 kids that remained are outstanding citizens. No, children need to learn how to do. And I certainly don't think anybody should be cruel to a child. But the Wilderness did, I think, the best they knew how to do in seeing that we were taught things that we needed to know. And I can do just about anything, you know. I really can. I mean, that's put before me because I had the experience of doing a lot of things. I had the experience of growing up with others, learning how to get along with others, learning how to share. No, that Bishop Spong, I don't know what he was thinking about. And too, you know, another thing, what gets me is you go to a child, what would you like? I like to be at home, or they're not good to me. A child is a child. And an adult, if you love children, you figure out what's best for that child and see that it's done. You can't let the child make a decision that has had no experience in life. When I was 13 years old, I wanted to go home to live. Had my mother let me go home, I would never gone to business college. I don't know what would happen to me. She knew what was best for me, and I was made to stay. And I am so grateful to this day, really, because I would probably, like some of the girls that were Wilderness did send away Pete, some of the ones that I didn't approve of. I didn't think they did. Several of the girls did not do anything to be sent away for. And I know that in my heart. I don't care what anybody might think. They might think, well, they had to do something. They did not. They should have been talked to, or about what they did, maybe campused. But one girl, she ended up quitting school that year, but yet she wanted to finish, so then she started saving her money and took a business course and graduated. And these other girls all saw that they graduated, even though they were sent away. You know, but a few, you know, in every situation there's going to be some people, some things that's not going to be right. Nothing is perfect. And I really believe the Wilderness did the best they knew how to do. I do not approve of everything they did do. I don't approve of some of these children that were sent away, which crushed them. Some of them are still hurt today over that. And, you know, I really hate to say that on camera because it's like I'm criticizing them. But that's one thing they did do that I don't approve of. They sent so many of those children away. I don't know what was their thinking. And Miss Wilson, a lot of people were afraid of her, you know, because she was so stern. But kind of like when I first went there, I was mangling in the laundry. Mangling is the big machine that you run sheets or flats through. She came punching me in the chest, kind of like, if you don't like it here, you know what you can do. So kind of mean like, and I thought, what have I done? And to myself, and I thought, well, I must not have been smiling. So evidently I was standing there mangling, thinking. And I think it disturbed her that I looked sad, you know. And she came punch me with that big old strong finger 3 times, woke me up anyway. She said, if you don't like it here, you know what you can do. No, what can I do? But no, I love my sister. We went through something one time that we had a strong disagreement on, but it was really my fault what had happened, you know. But she was trying to get me to say I wanted to leave. I said, you want me to leave? I wouldn't say it. She ended up slapping me and walking out. So the next morning I went down and told Pop about the situation. And I really believe that I had not gone down to their house that morning and talked to him, I might have gotten sent away, because what I did I really shouldn't have done. I really didn't. I mean, I really did do something that I really shouldn't have done. Like be real mean to one of the girls I got mad with.
And now you can look back on it.
I've written a story about that too. It's called Mary and Me. We're still friends. We're friends today, but I thought she had told something, and Miss Wilson should not have related to me the way that she did, and it just broke my heart because I had always been taken up with Mary and everything, and so when Mary came in that evening and wanted me to work for her in the dining room, I said, I reckon I will, nobody else will do it. And then I started talking really mean to her. So she jumps up and says, I'm not going to spend another night in this house with you. I said, good. So she goes and gets Mom Wilson. Mom calls me into the living room to reprimand me. But anyway, I really shouldn't have acted that way towards Mary. But it was such a shock what Miss Wilson said. She said that Mary had said that I fussed about everything I had to do, which I don't think was true. You know, I had lost down to 103 pounds because I had to walk to school. And then my boyfriend started coming by picking me up and taking, because I had gotten so thin. But I'd walk to school every morning and I'd lost so much weight. Plus she'd put so much on me that it was like she wanted to make sure I earned my keep from going to school. But she did some things like that, you know, I don't think was quite fair. But like I said, even in your own home, there's things that don't always go right. But I love the orphanage, and I'm glad that I was out there, and I was glad I didn't leave that night.
What do you think about the way they're doing it today, you know, with the foster
They don't have
program?
I do not agree on it at all. If they're sure that the foster parent is trying to do right and not taking the money, spending it someplace else. You know, I don't approve of foster homes. I mean, you talking about foster homes? No, because if you do not get along or they don't like you in a foster home, they stick you in another foster home, and they keep sticking you in this foster home, that foster home, till you're out of it. And I've interviewed several people from foster homes, and one person told me, she said, you know, she finally asked, her brother and sister was already at the orphanage, and she said it was really a nice family, but she never felt like she belonged, and said every time anything went wrong, she'd be the one to blame. They wanted to know, would she like to go to another foster home? I said, no. They said, what would you like? I said, I'd like to be with my brother and sister. So they put her out there, and she said everybody was the same. She made good grades. She liked it. She said she never felt like she belonged in the foster home. You've interviewed a couple of them that had been put in different foster homes, and you know, like everything in a foster home, most of the time, I admire people wanting to keep children, but you don't really. I don't know of any rich people that's taking care of foster children. most foster, and I probably get a lot of flack for this, but most foster families need money to take care of their own family and to get through the week. I mean the month. You know, unless there's a whole lot of love in that person that's taking care of those children, no, I don't approve of them.
Why do you think they started doing it this way, Thompson?
Because I think the government got involved and thought it'd be cheaper just to get the kids through the best way they know how. I do not approve of what the government has done. Yeah, I feel like the government intervened in there, and they're trying to get by as cheap as they can. And the way I look at it, unless children are taught and the things they need to know, the government's going to pay for it in the long run in prisons and places like that. No, the government, I think, is responsible for that. Plus that bishop, whatever, Spong. I mean, he didn't understand. He couldn't have understood.
No.
I mean,
And he was young. He was just starting out, and he was asked as an assignment to write that review. And
he probably, you like it? No, they make me work so hard.
right. Well, a lot of people we've interviewed have said
They work.
at the time they did not like it, but looking back, they know that it's what they needed, and they're grateful for it.
And they turn out to be really outstanding people. And that's what I put in my book, too. I don't put that everything's just great, great, great. I put, they didn't really like it at the time. And even some of them could not adjust to it. But those little kids in particular, ones that couldn't adjust, and they needed counselors. Plus, if you got counselors out there, they're going to keep the administration straight if they're the right kind. Just like I feel like if we had counselors out there, those girls and boys that got sent away would not have been sent away. Even though I love Mom, some things that she got by with doing, which I can't understand. Maybe she had a reason I don't know about. But I know some of them would never come back to a reunion. It's too emotional because they didn't realize how much it would hurt those people. I mean, it hurt. It's like being kicked out of your own home, because we did consider it our own home, and it was like their security. Like Jackie was like 3 years old when she went there. Never dreamed of leaving. And she was one of the ones, and she wasn't even, she was 3, and this was her home. And she gets kicked out. And some of the others that were so young when they went there, and they were in high school, about to finish high school and are made to leave. That was cruel in my way of thinking. Now, the Wisners may have had something in mind I don't know about. Maybe they had some reason, but I lived with those girls every day. And I knew them.
Now, what year was it you left?
55.
So the Wisners,
I graduated in 53.
They were still there when you left.
Yeah. I really cared about them, and they did so much good. But, too, when they started sending people away, they did a lot of harm. I don't think they realized it. And I don't know the reason. I'm baffled today over that one. Because I know the stories of the girls, what happened after they left. Some of the hardships a few of them had to go through. Because it didn't matter if they didn't have a place to go or not, they were sent. Like Joanne was sent up to the mountains to a poor mama that couldn't take care of herself, much less Joanne. And Joanne got a part-time job, and she went ahead and finished school up there. She was going to graduate in 6 months. They sent her away when she was in the 12th grade, and she'd been out there since she was 7. You don't think I'm going to get strung up and hung over what I'm saying, do you?
No, and it probably, when we do these interviews, we only end up using just little bits and pieces.
Yeah, figure don't get me put in jail, but but I'm telling you like I see it.
Did you ever go back and visit after you'd gone?
Oh yeah, I used to have the girls. I knew that if you had something to do on Friday nights, you would behave more that week. And a lot of the younger girls didn't, they didn't have anywhere really to go. So I would open my house. I lived close enough to the orphanage that every Friday night, the ones that wanted to come over to my apartment, they could come over there, and I'd do little things with them there. And if I went out that night, the boy would have to take them to the movies and buy them popcorn and a drink. And the boy that ran the movies, the drive-in theater, he let us in free. But if I didn't go out with someone that night, I would stay there and do things with them. And then on Sunday, I'd leave my apartment key where they could come in, and I'd leave potato chips and stuff, and they could watch TV. And this was just so they could get away, do something on the weekend. But yeah, I've always been involved with them as much as they'd let me. I used to give vacations, but when the new administration took over, they didn't want me to do this because really our group, so many of us resented, the way the new things were going. Well, a lot of things we didn't understand at the time also, but we quit doing a lot of things that we had done,
Was that in '65 when the new administration took over?
It was about that time. You'll just have to look it up. I don't know the exact date.
And see, that would have been not too long after that report came out.
Yeah, that's when they started doing it. But the man did not know what he's talking about, because we have almost gone full circle now. Because these boys are old now, and girls, and they can tell you. Now there's some that did not ever like it, would not say one thing nice about it if you asked them, because they resented it, and they needed somebody to help them understand.
How do you think Mom and Pop got into doing that? I mean, how did they?
I have no idea if they both were college graduates. Pop was, I think she taught gym or something. Anyway, they were taught at UNC Chapel Hill, I believe. I'm not sure. They both were professors, very well educated. But they did everything first class. They certainly tried to. And they were careful about who we associated with, or tried to be. No, I think they're pretty fine people myself. I think they made mistakes, but I think everybody makes mistakes.
Were most of the children there from families that had, been members of Episcopal churches, or how did?
No, not all of them. Some of them someone knew of the Episcopal Church, of this orphanage, and like one boy, I wrote his story. His father, he was adopted, and his father was he was adopted when he was a baby, and his parents were older. And when he was 6 years old, they just doted on him. And when he was 6 years old, she died, and he was a policeman. And his story's in my book too. And so his father goes to Mr. Wisnott. He had heard about the good reputation of the orphanage and what fine kids they turned out. And he asked Mr. Wisnott if he would take care of him, take him. And he said, well, we can't. We don't have time, room or something. So he goes back to him after, I don't know, the length of time, a few weeks or something. Says, if you'll take him, I'll pay for his support. And so it was, some of the children's parents did pay for them being there. But one boy, he's dead now. He had been adopted, and his father was a doctor, and his adopted father, and his adopted father lost his mind, and his mother put him out there, and I'm sure she paid for him, and she'd go out and visit with the Wisnotts, and she took an active part in it like that. I mean, most of us, I think, came from families that children needed to be somewhere, but it's nothing like it is now, though, Yeah, it's just how why things gone to pot now. Why is everybody having 3 and 4 marriages? Why is so much drugs going on? Somebody along the way, family or somebody, didn't have time for them, for so many. And then, like after school, children, the parents, it got where parents had to work. And then that's where a lot of them get in trouble, not having discipline afterwards. It's not that their parents weren't good, it's just that life has gotten so fast. There's not enough time put into so many of them.
And that's what the orphanage did for you. It put in time.
The orphanage gave me a home.
Support and
Gave me everything I
Wow.
needed. And that's what an orphanage is. It's not a place to go to be punished. It's a place to go to give you a chance in life. And this I wish all children that were ever in an orphanage or would be put in an orphanage, somehow or another, you could get the point across. You're loved, that's why you're here. If people didn't care, we wouldn't have an orphanage. And if a child could realize they're there because they are loved and is trying to be given a chance, I think it'd make a big difference.
Well, I think I'm done with questions. Is there anything you want to say that I didn't ask?
No, other than I think it's a crime that the government has gotten rid of so many orphanages and feel like children are better off being shoveled from foster home to foster home. That's my true belief.
Everybody, the consensus has been, the same amongst everybody we've talked with, that it was such a good thing for them when they needed it,
Yeah, it was you're put in a situation,
and they
Yeah.
felt security.
and that's the reason I said, if Mom and Pop only hadn't sent some of them away that didn't deserve being sent away, it crushed them.
Do you think it was because of money?
I have no earthly idea. No need me to think or
Yeah.
try to figure out. I have no earthly idea what the reason was. I have no earthly idea. I know one thing. There was certain ones that they wanted to keep. I know my sister ran away and they picked her up at the bus station and brought her back. Ordinarily they would have sent her off. And she wanted to go home, and Miss Fusnett, they wrote Mother a letter, in other words, trying to keep her there. And I wish now that I had, now that she's older, because she's the same age I was when I wanted to leave. But see, I was also a kid, even though I was going to business school. And Mother said, if it's okay with Stella, it's okay with me. And even though she was very popular in all the schools she went to, now that she's in her 70s, she's telling me she should have stayed when she made me think she was so miserable. And every school she went to, she was a beauty in it and was very popular, But she tells me when she's 70 years old, well, I was just a kid, Stella. You should have left me there. That's kind of funny, isn't it?